You think being stuck means you haven't found the answer yet. I want to change your mind about that today because being stuck never really has anything to do with the answer. It has to do with the state that you're trying to find it in. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. And it changes how you run your whole business. Welcome to Tried and True with a Dash of Woo, where we blend rock solid tips with a little bit of magic. I'm your host, Renee Bowen, a life and a business coach, professional photographer, Diet Coke lover, and mom of 3 grown kids. Here to walk you through all the ins and outs of identity-based marketing and how to run a business that feels like freedom. Hey, welcome back to Tried and True with a Dash of Woo. I am your host, Renee Bowen. So this summer, we're doing a little series that I call Let Me Change Your Mind About. And every single episode, we take a belief that you're carrying around with you that you think is true. We crack it open and we look at what is actually going on underneath it. So today's belief, the one that I want to take apart for you, is this. Being stuck means something is missing. Strategy, a piece of information, the right person to tell you what to do next. And my claim, and I'm going to back it up with some real NLP, some psychology, physiology, and a story that still makes me a little cringy to tell, is that nothing is missing. You're trying to think your way through a problem that your body hasn't let go of yet. So stick with me here. This one is going to hit a little bit different than you probably expect. And I'm very much looking forward to your feedback on this. All right, so let's start with what stuck actually looks like, because I don't think we really talk about the specifics of that enough. Okay, so maybe you hit a wall in your business. Maybe bookings are down. Business is slower. A client goes quiet mid-conversation, and then you replay the last 3 texts trying to figure out what you might have done. Maybe you freeze mid-session if you're a photographer because the light's not doing what you had planned and your brain goes blank. Or maybe it's bigger than just one moment, right? It's the slow grinding kind of stuck where you've been circling the same decision. Maybe it's a pricing decision for 2+ months. And every time you sit down to finally decide on it, your chest goes tight and you close your laptop and you just don't even want to deal with it. And so here's what happens the second any of that starts. Okay. You usually go into fix it mode. You research, scroll 6 competitors' websites at midnight. You rewrite the same caption 5 different ways. You ask your photographer friend group what they think, and then maybe your coach if you have one, then a stranger in a Facebook group, and then back to your photographer friend group again because you didn't like the first answer. So you're working so hard at the problem, and somehow the harder you work, the bigger and stickier it gets. Does that sound familiar? I would put real money on the answer being yes, because I have watched the exact problem in nearly every client I've ever coached, and I've lived it plenty of times myself. We were raised on the idea that hard work solves everything. So when something doesn't budge, our first instinct is always more effort, more research, more staring at it until it blinks first. But here's the part that we really don't talk about a lot, and I didn't realize for a long time. Staring at it doesn't make it blink. Okay. Staring at it makes your body think that you are in danger. It keeps you in that mode. So let's actually talk about that mechanism, because I promised you it wouldn't just be like fluffy woo-woo stuff here in this podcast. So in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is one of the things I'm trained in, the whole game is state. Okay. Not strategy first. State, meaning the state that your body, your nervous system is in. So a state essentially is just the combination of your physiology and your internal focus in any given moment. And it drives everything downstream of it. Your thinking, your decisions, your creativity, your ability to even hear good advice when it's sitting right in front of you. And when you hit that pricing decision and your chest goes tight, that's not a business problem per se. that's really your state showing up, right? Cortisol's rising, breath is getting shallow, your shoulders are creeping up toward your ears. Your body has decided that this is a threat, and threat states are built for just one job, to get you out of danger very quickly. They're not built for nuance or for creativity. They are absolutely not built for setting a number on a pricing guide that reflects your actual worth. So here's what's wild. The second something goes wrong in your business, your body has already fired off a very specific, very clear desire for the opposite outcome. Okay. The desire is already forming your next reality before you have done a single thing to solve anything. The pull toward the solution already exists, it's already in motion. What blocks it is not this missing strategy that you're forcing. What blocks it is a nervous system that is bracing, like it's under attack, trying to think its way out of a state it hasn't actually left yet. This is why you can journal about the same problem for 3 weeks and get nowhere with it. Journaling is great, but it also can be a thinking tool if you aren't sort of zooming out, right? For me, journaling can be really impactful, but I have to zoom out. I have to like get it all out and then come back to it later and sort of like read it with a different perspective. Because essentially, you could just be writing the same stuff that's going on in your head and it could keep you in that loop. So if your body is still in a threat state while you're journaling, for example, you're just rehearsing that panic in like a different way. You're just writing it instead of talking it or saying it in your head. So here's what I actually do with my clients and what I want to hand you today. It's called state before strategy. And it's simple on purpose because when you're activated, complicated doesn't really work. Complicated needs a calm brain to follow it. And a calm brain is exactly what you really don't have in the moment that you need it the most. So it's 4 steps. First one is notice. Just catch the moment your body shifts. A tight chest, maybe shallow breathing, that specific sort of like flavor of panic where you open 17 tabs, read none of them, shut them all down. This sounds obvious, but almost nobody actually does it because we're so used to living activated that activated just feels like a normal Tuesday for you. Okay, so first you have to notice it. This is literally the most simple thing, but it's very hard to do if you're not paying attention. Energy flows where attention goes. Where are you putting your attention? Okay, so noticing is the first step. Then the second one is naming it out loud if you can, silently if you can't. I don't know how many times I have retreated to my closet to just have a come to Jesus moment with myself and my unconscious mind where I can like actually talk out loud to it, but do what you can. Okay. You need to say to yourself out loud, I'm in threat mode right now. You're acknowledging it in the first step. Now you're actually naming it and saying it and not blaming it on other circumstances like, oh, my client's a nightmare or I'm bad at pricing, right? You're not beating yourself up. That's not what I'm talking about here. Just a really plain, factual piece of information that is naming what your body is actually doing. Okay. And so this one thing alone starts to bring your prefrontal cortex back online because saying it out loud, naming it for what it is, naming an emotion is one of the fastest, most researched ways to start calming the exact alarm system that hijacked you in the first place. Then the third thing is to ground it. So now this is the physical piece and it doesn't need to be complicated. Okay. Don't overcomplicate this. Just put your feet flat on the floor. If you can go outside and put your feet on grass, perfect. If not, just do it in your house. A long exhale, longer than your inhale, a splash of cold water, maybe on the back of your neck, your wrists, or on your face, a walk around the block without your phone. The goal is not to feel amazing. The goal is just to let your body out of threat and back into something closer to neutral. We just want to get neutral. Okay, so then and only then act. Take action. This is the order that matters the most. Not strategy first, hoping that your state's going to follow. No, state first. So the strategy that you actually come up with actually has a calm, clear brain behind it instead of a scared one just feeling like it's being chased constantly. Okay, we got to change your state first. That matters a ton. So notice it, name it, ground it, act on it. All right, so I'm going to tell you a quick little story about a client I had because I think this will help sort of like get it into your system a little bit more. So, a couple of years ago, I had a client who shall remain nameless who sat on a pricing decision for like a good 2.5 months, right? Every single call, she showed up with a new spreadsheet, a new competitor breakdown, a new reason the timing wasn't quite right yet. And I want to be clear about the fact that she was very, very smart. Okay. She didn't need more information. She had more information than anyone really needs to do this pricing work. And we had also run through all her numbers. And this wasn't the first time she had tried doing it as well. But what she needed was to notice that every time she opened that spreadsheet, her whole body braced like she was about to get in trouble. So we didn't actually talk strategy for a while. We used this state before strategy instead. And she noticed the bracing. She named it out loud on our call, which obviously felt silly to her the first time, but then it didn't. Then she grounded, put her feet on grass. She took a long walk, nothing fancy. And then only after that, we talked about her numbers. So I literally would have her do this protocol before coaching calls so that she would come ready and not activated, basically. So, what I find interesting about this situation is that this pricing difference, it was pretty significant and it was actually higher than what she had been agonizing about for weeks prior. But she was able to change her state about it, change her mind about it, essentially, right? We needed to kind of reframe this so that it was information. She wasn't doing this from a very activated state. She was grounded. She had been doing the work. She wasn't just doing this little pre-call grounding strategy. She was listening to the hypnosis tracks. She was doing her 10-minute every morning non-negotiable. Like when you work with me inside of coaching, we customize these for you because what works for one person may not work for somebody else, but we customize it with what works for her. So because she had been doing this and she had gotten into the habit to teach her unconscious mind that this was her baseline that she wanted to work from, that this was actually safe, right? Because your nervous system needs to feel that it's safe for you to go ahead and just take the action. So because she had been doing all of that and she went through these 4 steps, she was able to come up with a much better pricing strategy. She raised her prices higher than she was even planning to do it. She set it into motion and she hasn't touched it since. I mean, this has been like a couple of years now. I did talk to her not that long ago. Obviously, we all have to sort of like incrementally raise our prices now because the cost of goods have gotten so much higher. But basically, she's still reporting that, yeah, it's working great because it didn't come from this scared place. She was really steady when she was able to come to this decision. She wasn't working from panic and scarcity. So here's where I want to kind of widen this out for you because, if I just leave it in this pricing example, you might think this really only applies to money decisions, but it doesn't. This is happening every time you avoid a caption, or maybe you rewrite that caption 50 times. Maybe it feels too honest or too vulnerable. It also can show up every time you say yes to a session or a decision that is really a no. Okay. Listening to your body, or every time you compare your work to somebody else's. So all of that is a nervous system response, a state. And it's not great to be making these big decisions from that activated state. And this is really the whole thesis underlying pretty much everything I teach, because most creative entrepreneurs don't actually have a marketing problem. I will say that I will die on that hill, basically. If you come to me and tell me that you have a marketing problem, yes, that might be the outcome that you're seeing, like because we call it marketing, because marketing means you're not talking about your business or you're not selling all the time, nothing's on repeat, so you don't have clients. Okay, well, we have to dig deeper than that. And when we dig deeper, we find out that it is based in an identity issue, right? The business struggles that feel the stickiest are almost never solved by just slapping another strategy on it or another course or another template. They get solved when you build a business and a nervous system that can actually hold the identity of the person that you are trying to become. Because again, You lit off this desire for something and it's out there being formed. That's just quantum physics. So you gotten a taste of it. Like if you have any sort of inkling that you want things to be different, that, in 3 to 5 years, you want to be making more money, or maybe shooting less clients and making more money, or maybe you want to start your educational offers, maybe you want to launch a course, maybe you want to launch a podcast, whatever it is. You've had the idea, then your brain is starting to play around with that thought a little bit. It's trying it on. Your identity is forming. So this is that version of you that you are working to become. And every time you put your attention on doing something that is going to get you closer to that, then you are like kind of casting that vote for yourself. You're choosing yourself every time you do in these small little incremental moments. But you can't price like a 6-figure photographer from a body that's bracing like it's about to get yelled at. Okay. The strategy isn't the missing piece, it's the steady state. And so, my argument for you today about changing your mind about being stuck is that it's not a more research problem, right? You don't need to do more to solve this. It's actually regulation. Your job is not to solve every hard thing that shows up in your business by thinking harder at it. If you could overthink your way into something, it would have worked by now. And as an overthinker, I can tell you with 100% certainty that it does not solve the problem. Your job is to notice the moment you've slipped into a threat state and then naming it, grounding it. Then you can act from that place of neutrality, ideally, because that steady state is the only place that true clarity actually reaches you. It's when things drop in, right? It's like you can be in a flow state. That's why they say get creative, right? Even if you're in burnout, that's a different topic. But, if you're feeling burnout and you're a creative, when was the last time you actually did your creative work for fun, just for you? So, that's why, because your brain needs to open up to possibility. And if you're pushing and forcing, last week's podcast was more about the forcing, but it's kind of the same idea. Okay. And I do want to like make sure all the creative brains listening, especially hear this, the ones who've been told that your sensitivity or your spicy all over the place brain is the reason that you're behind or haven't accomplished what you may have wanted to by now. It's not you. Okay. Your brain is not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. It just wasn't designed to make good decisions from this state of alarm or threat. And nobody's brain is. That's literally just physiology. Okay. That's just how we're wired as humans. So the fix was never to like toughen up and just push through. The fix is to get steady and grounded and regulated. So being stuck and overthinking and going back and forth and can't get past it. I mean, I have had countless women come to discovery calls and say the exact words, I just need to get out of my own way. This is what that is. Okay. You have the awareness that you're the one sort of like creating this, but it's not you per se. It's your unconscious mind. You were programmed and now it has set in as a belief. And so the only way to shift that is to regulate first, then get the perspective, then take the inspired action. It's just that most of us with like really overactive brains, we want the solution to be here yesterday. And especially if we're overthinkers too, hello, you have anxiety and overthinking, that just adds to the mix. It gets you into trouble because it keeps you in that threat state. Because again, your body thinks that that is your safety zone because it is familiar. Your body, your nervous system, your unconscious mind, it's going to choose familiar over unfamiliar any day of the week. You just need to teach it that this is now familiar to you. This, regulating first, acting from a place of empowerment and calm and groundedness. Again, nervous system regulation does not always look like calm. That might be how it looks to you, but to somebody else, being regulated might look like running 2 miles and coming home and just feeling like lit up and on top of the world, or being in flow at a session, maybe a creative thing that you do, and you're just in the flow of it. That could be regulating. Whatever it means to you is what I'm talking about, right? So I just say putting your feet on grass because that is literally, we know that there are actual scientific reasons why that works. And same thing with putting cold water or ice on your face or your hands, your wrists, because we do know that these can be great regulation techniques, but you got to find what works for you. So here's a little bit of homework if you would like to do some. Name the one thing that has been gripping you the hardest right now, right? Maybe it is a pricing decision, or maybe it's a launch that flopped and you can't stop replaying that in your mind. Or maybe you have a client that you really wanted to work with who ghosted you. Whatever it is, just let it come up. You already know what I'm talking about. But before you dig into it again, run those 4 steps. Notice the state that you're in. Name it out loud, even if it feels ridiculous, because it will. Ground yourself for real, okay? However that looks for you. Give yourself a really nice, proper exhale. 10 minutes away from the screen if you can manage it. And then, and only then, go back to it once you've regulated a little bit. You should really have a perspective shift. And then notice what is different when you do. That's what changing your mind actually looks like in practice. Not more effort being thrown at the problem, less grip, a steadier body, and a business that finally gets to be built by this clear version of you instead of the version that's just trying to survive. I'm telling you, everything changes when your perspective shifts, but it's very hard to get that shift when you're in the throes of an activated nervous system. And hey, maybe you don't know the deeper reason for it. And maybe you do need to work with somebody to get into it. Maybe it is trauma-based. Maybe it is a little sticky. I totally get it. And if you feel like it's too triggering to do this work on your own, obviously, yes, seek someone that you can vibe with that is actually qualified to get you these results. Because even the act of hiring someone to do it with you, alongside you, is a massive signal to the universe, to your higher self, to your unconscious mind that you're not playing around anymore. You've made a decision. You're taking it seriously. You've spent money. So now there's skin in the game. You're going to show up. And 9 times out of 10, that's what it takes, because we just let ourselves off the hook too easily. And again, that's not you doing it because you're bad or weak or any of that stuff. That is literally just your unconscious programming. It wants to keep you safe. So it's going to keep telling you, you don't need to spend that kind of money, or you don't want to do that kind of work. We're fine. We're fine. But deep down, you're not. So, I am a huge proponent of self-awareness and self-development, because most people don't even do that initial work of having the awareness that something isn't quite aligned. So if you have that, you are ahead of the game. That's the first step in this process. It's like actually acknowledging it, getting very radically honest with yourself and being like, yep, that's what I'm doing. And not cracking the whip on yourself, not being mean to yourself, just being honest. Be like, yep, that's what's going on. And I am having a hard time getting out of this loop. But try those 4 steps. Let me know how it works. I always love hearing from you guys in the DMs. And I always love hearing whether these episodes resonate with you. So let me know if I changed your mind about being stuck. Couple of quick reminders before I wrap up. So my senior photographers, I still have the senior sprint on sale through the rest of July. You can get it for $500 off. And then you will also be, if you purchase it during that sale before the 31st, you will also be invited to a community Zoom on August 18th, where we're going to do some Q&As. We're going to walk through some stuff. Maybe you need some coaching, or maybe you want to brainstorm some stuff. You can come to that and you'll get the replay as well. But if you are having issues with your marketing, I highly recommend looking into this before the price goes up to its regular price, because this is a lot of this identity work that I talk about all the time. The first module in this senior sprint is very deep. You're going to go deep. You're going to excavate your purpose, your why, so that you can build an actual strategy. We get into the strategy in the other modules, but we got to start at the foundation. Okay. So you need to do that kind of work. If you are like missing the mark with your marketing right now, if you're not getting clients, you feel like nobody's listening, no engagement, whether it's on social, your website, anything. Okay. This is not just like a social media class. It's a lot deeper than that. We do go over some social strategies for sure, but you're not going to be implementing anything until you actually do that foundational work in the first module. The first two modules of the senior sprint are incredibly important. Not to say that the rest of it is not, but the first two, that's where we build a strong foundation. So make sure you do that first. That's still on sale. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to chat in the DMs. I also have 2 spots open for one-on-one coaching right now. So reach out. The link is below if you want to just hop on a call and chat and see if coaching is the right decision for you right now. I would also challenge you a little bit. A lot of people say, oh, I'm going into my busy season, so I'm not going to have time to do it. Okay, I get that, but that is also a really great time to rewire something. For instance, if going into fall, you're just going to get busier and you're going to let everything else go like you always do, and you want to change it this year, you need to do that in real time. Okay, because your unconscious mind learns by experience. And so, what better time than when you're actually busy than to dive into some coaching and shift some stuff in real time? You'd be really surprised at how fast it actually works. Because again, your unconscious mind will just look for proof. Whatever you give it, it's going to look for it. So if you really want to make some changes, but you're heading into a busy season, it's still maybe worth a chat. We can hop on a call and see if it'd be right for you. I also want to remind you guys that I have a lot of AI tools. I've got some Claude skills. I'm developing some more right now. I kind of took a little bit of a break from AI, not like completely because I use it every day as far as like on the back end of my business, but I've just been really busy with the senior sprint and with coaching. And I'm also shooting now because it's summer. So I kind of haven't been as deep in the whole AI thing, but I have been working on something really cool that I know a lot of you guys are going to find interesting. I'm not going to really talk about it right now because I'm not going to commit to something until I know I've got it, but stay tuned. If you have any questions about any of the things that I offer, just let me know. I am happy to chat with you in the DMs. I do have a lot of stuff out there, so it's hard for me to like talk about them all the time, but they are listed on my website and that link is below. If you are a photographer, I hope that you're busy and I hope that your sessions are going well. And I hope that it's not too hot because I've pretty much heard across the board that it's pretty brutal everywhere. And we're kind of having a little bit of that here now too in California, but we got this. And maybe you are not even working very much this summer and you are taking a lot of time off. And I love that for you. Whatever you're up to, I hope you're having a great summer. Be safe, you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Okay. Love you. Bye.